After you, ma'am.
Right leg belongs to a black male, the right arm to an East Asian female, and a Caucasian male head.
Well, it's not the strangest thing I've ever seen.
Top 10?
7th?
So, no evidence, no witnesses.
Let's catch this killer.
From the gallows.
There are 6 people sewn together into the whatever we're calling it.
Loco Chanel.
Edward Different Hands.
The Ragdoll?
Ragdoll it is.
You're kidding me. IT get to name our grisly discoveries.
I really want to catch this guy. But is it smart to involve Rose?
You want to know what a psychotic liability like me is doing back at work. Yeah, that's fair.
What is that?
Nathan Rose. You're on his kill list.
Yes.
The killer sees us. Right for us.
We need backup. Whatever he's got planned, it ends with Rose.
Scheiße.
Sometimes it feels like only our mistakes have any consequences.
My name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. Today, we are thrilled to talk to the cast members who are part of the hot new show, Ragdoll. We're going to kick things off by introducing you to the AAFCA members who are participating in today's roundtable, beginning with Dana Abercrombie in New York, Nancy Green in Los Angeles, our facilitator Cathy Woods in Philadelphia, Karan Lenoir in Charlottesville, Virginia, Rhonda Rasha Penrice in Atlanta, and we should have a few more joining us soon. So anyway, I'm going to let you guys do what you do so well, and I'll see you on the other side.
My question is for Lucy Hale. What I loved about the book was that it was very much driven in the murders and the mystery, but now with the show, it's very character driven. What is it about the expansion of your character that you was happy to portray on screen and that you really wanted audiences to take away from your performance?
Hi, Dana. Well, what's so funny about my character is that she was a dude in the book. So they can I don't know why the decision was to make her a female, but I personally am very glad that they did. I don't even know if the character's name was Edmonds, but I think they knew they wanted an American on the show. I'm the only American on the show. But I actually like on purpose didn't read the book because they kind of told me there was no point because my character wasn't heavily involved in the book. But Edmonds in the show she's kind of, what I loved is that she's sort of the audience's perspective a lot of the time. And she's very, she really wants to succeed. She really wants to do the right thing. But you can kind of tell that there's something she's running away from. And so what was so fun over the course of the show was to like peel back the layers to be like, why is she in the UK? Why did she choose this career path? So all of those things were fun to play. But what I love so much about Freddie's writing is that obviously the show is, deeply disturbing and dark, but sort of how the characters cope with everything through their humor. So that was exciting. I loved working with Thalissa and Henry and just like figuring out our dynamics. And yeah, Edmonds was fun to play. I would love to continue to play her. Hopefully we can do a lot more of that. But it was kind of fun to get to create a character from the ground up. I mean, Freddie did, everything was there when I read the script. Like I clearly understood who Edmonds was, which was nice. But because she wasn't in the book, I could sort of play around too and like make her my own, which was fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Hey everyone, Cathy Woods, Cup of Soul Show here. I love this show. I love crime stuff. I love bonkers, crazy. I was in as soon as we saw the crime scene and I was like, yes, right? It's maybe, I don't know what it says about me, but talk a little bit about what it felt like for you guys as actors. It's one thing to read it on the page, but what did you feel like when you walked in and you actually saw it, or what were your emotions and about just being in that scene and being like, wow, we're really doing this? And Henry, we can start with you.
I think Lucy reminded me of this yesterday, but we probably had the opportunity to see that amazing creation, I think a couple of days beforehand. And if I remember rightly, we both chose not to go into the room where it was positioned, because obviously the art department, it's a seriously intricate piece of work that had to be obviously pieced together, like in the show, and then hung from wire, as the murderer has done, in a very specific way. And they had to prepare the body to make sure that it looked like it was thawing, so had the right, how do I say this, moisture. And anyway, they said a couple of times, it's ready if you want to go and take a look. And I said, you know what, let's save it. Let's save it for that moment. So there is an extent to which in those scenes, when we're pulling back the perspex sheeting, the whole monstrous beauty of the thing and the look on our faces is, there is an element of horror and wonder that was there for real. I don't want to speak on her behalf, but I feel like Thalissa had a bit more of a, maybe perhaps the most visceral,
squirmish than those two.
response to seeing it. But it's a profoundly amazing thing, and I hope for everyone's sake that there is some kind of open top bus tour where it's paraded around various town centres. For your sake, so you can see the level of detail. But yeah, Thalissa had a bit more of a crash bang wallop.
I think if I had the option to see it before the shooting day, I definitely would have taken it. I think that's a big difference between me, Henry, and Lucy, because obviously Baxter, the character, would have seen a lot more gruesome things in her job than thankfully I have to do as an actress, especially in real life. So for me, I think I said this before, I'd got into a bit of a dark hole on the internet researching real life murder cases, and was up to about 2 in the morning when I was getting up at 5:30 the next day to then look at the Ragdoll. And I just saw this shape, and then it reminded me that if Freddie Cyborn can write it on paper, it possibly means that someone could actually do it in real life. And it really freaked me out. I was like, everything that's bad is real. So luckily Lucy caught me. I was sweating. I had a bit of, I hyperventilated, and luckily Lucy, an amazing makeup artist, Branca, were there to basically pick my limbs up off the floor and stitch me back together, because I wasn't in a good state. But I mean, they put individual human hairs in the chest, like the work that these people did, it was absolutely phenomenal. Like the cellulose and the moisture, as Henry aptly chose to use. But it was I mean, we also watched so many like crime dramas beforehand, like Silence of the Lambs and all these things, and then actually having to properly reenact it when you have to act a character that's probably more reserved than you are, I'd be screaming my head off.
It's such a shame you weren't playing someone that had to faint that day.
Yeah, because I would.
In retrospect, that was such a shame, because your performance would have been flawless, absolutely flawless.
And you're telling me it wasn't?
Full of holes.
No, I mean, I appreciate so much how much, these two absolutely saved me that day, basically.
Lucy, you were okay, let's do this.
I love it. I'm like you. What does that say about me that I'm loving every second of this? I don't know. I'm like you. Like I love true crime, the whole serial killer documentary thing. Like I'm the first to watch, the first to listen. My mom, sister, and I are on a text thread where we talk about our new favorite true crime podcasts. So I've always just kind of been into that. But really, this Ragdoll, it's an unbelievable piece of art, though. Like you guys were saying, like the company who made the prosthetics, I think, started months before we started filming, and it truly, I mean, it's now looking back, like it's shocking how real it looked. What were we like? What were we filming? It's so dark, it's so disturbing.
Yeah.
But like Thalissa said, like there were moments throughout filming where I was thinking, this really happens or could happen, or people really think this way, or people really want to do things like this to people. But like I said, I enjoyed every second of that part of it.
Awesome, thank you. This is Nancy's question. How has the show impacted how you look at crime dramas in your approach? Thalissa, will have you go first this time.
I mean, the mechanics of filming Ragdoll, I mean, Henry and Lucy and I have said this, like we basically filmed an action movie in the space of like no time at all, which was kind of phenomenal. And what is amazing by watching episode 1 and 2, I've only seen those 2, is that actually the editors have so much creativity in the suspense of the drama, and the music is so important. There was one moment where I was like, this is a bit scary, and I just muted the sound for a second, and it completely shifted you out of like the tension of the drama. And I think obviously watching other actors perform the most phenomenal, terrifying scenes, it's so much to do with the production around it and the timing of the editors is like genius, and the sound that's been placed. So I think the way that I'm going to watch crime dramas in the future is to like, really pay attention to the lighting, and everything is such a magic, it has to be such like suspense. It's kind of like unraveling a present. But I was just really impressed. I'm going to be so much more impressed now watching scary films or things that have like a tension, really listening out to the music. I mean, we've got amazing, Moses Boyd is the composer that's done the most phenomenal soundtrack. Not only is he like under the age of 30 and a young Black jazz musician from London, so I'm like so happy that that's the sound that we've got for our very London show. But yeah, what he's done with the saxophone is how I feel in my stomach when I first saw the Ragdoll. So I think that's amazing.
Lucy, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. I've done a few things in like the horror space, and did Pretty Little Liars for years, which is drastically different from this, but still had that like whodunit element. And I think that, I mean, I don't know how to word it better than Thalissa did, but you're so right. It's in every detail matters, and the editing so matters, and the lighting really matters, and the music really. I just saw a cut of it with Moses's original score that he did for the show, and it just like elevates it to a whole new level. I think that actually is what's most important to me when watching something, is the score and the music. I think it can like make or break something. So that was really crazy. But I think for me, my whole takeaway from this experience was more about how interesting it is to me on why people choose to follow this career path, and like how you compartmentalize and like go through your day-to-day life when you're dealing with all of these really intense, disturbing things. I don't have an answer for why, but like it really had me thinking like how these detectives go home at night. Like, how do you, I mean, it has to overtake you. It has to become your whole life, I guess. But that sort of is my whole takeaway from Ragdoll, is like how impressive it is what these people do. It's a lot.
I've definitely explored some of the emotional spectrum that's in this show before, but definitely never combined it with that all-out physical thriller element. And what it takes to make that kind of television, what it takes to make that kind of program, and as Thalissa was saying, to keep characters in a state of panic, anxiety, and suspense, in order, hopefully, to keep an audience in a sense of panic, anxiety. That is a serious undertaking. And as she said, like, there's a real skill to it and a real art to it. And it's also very hard to do. And it's hard to do well. and weirdly, I was thinking about the tragic news last night that they had on that horrendous accident, where corners were cut or whatever. I mean, I don't know if we know what's happened yet. And my heart goes out to everyone that's involved. But in a weird way, it's part of this this thirst to make content, but also to make people feel something, to make something authentic, or make an audience, provoke an audience reaction. And it, the quest from that can be really tough. It can be really tough, and in some cases, of course, now deadly and have tragic consequences. So weirdly, it's made me feel quite fatalistic about you sit back on your sofa and you watch people do a Fast and Furious style car chase and explode into flames. And now, having been closer than I've ever been to that type of action, and of course, I felt completely safe throughout the shooting of this show, and I had a fantastic time, doing all that kind of stuff. But it's made me realize all of how the sausage is made, and especially reflecting on everything that happened last night. I've been not quite, that could have been me, that could have been us, but I definitely feel closer to it than I did before I did this job. It's quite a weird roundabout answer. I'm sorry for gabbling, but there you go.
Hi guys, this is Karan from Karanism.com. I'm also loving the show. It is as funny as it is cerebral, and it's my kind of weird, because the darker it gets, even the humor, the better it gets for me, the juicier it is. So I'd like to know from each of you, starting with Thalissa, who is Ragdoll for?
Ooh, good question.
Fascinating question. I suppose we're in a time where, especially after the year this whole world has had of just questioning humanity and what it is to suffer in different realms now. I think we've all been pushed to so many different limits because of the pandemic. There's so much of in Ragdoll that feels more of a psychological thriller in terms of the understanding of mental health and PTSD and how people function together. Yes, this is an extreme because we're talking about murder cases here, but there are very minute interactions that feel very human, in the sense of, is someone well enough to work? Is Rose capable enough to do his job? Who needs who at what phase of their recovery from trauma? And I think that there's something, watching the series post the year that we've had, and what we were talking about earlier with the editing and the music and this amazing hyper sense of reality, of anxiety and holding it, suspending it. I think I definitely watched it with, oh my gosh, we've gone through something really big. And I think that, I think that's the case with I've been to the theatre quite a few times now that we're allowed to go back to the theatre, and you just watch things in a different perspective now. So I think Ragdoll, why Ragdoll? I think because it's not only a whodunit drama and filled with action and humour, but the humour comes from some sort of coping mechanism, which I think we all understand from the year that we've had. We've all tried to make them laugh, whether it's WhatsApp groups from your family apart in the last 2 years, or, I'm sure memes have become a huge thing. Just any way that we can interact in that kind of humor comes from the difficult hardship that we're all going through. And I think that made a lot of sense for those characters. So maybe that. I don't know if that answered it.
How do you beat that? Yeah. No, and I think that there's something so great about how Freddie wrote these characters, is that they're all really extremely flawed. And Henry, you said it yesterday, but yet you still root for them, even if they're not necessarily doing the moral thing. You still identify with them and you relate to them. And I think that Freddie really captured that in the characters. Thalissa, that was a very perfect answer, but I'll just piggyback on saying
we've all spoken about
it. They're effed up, they're messed up, they do maybe questionable decisions, but you still see yourself in them and you want them to succeed. And, you know, the show is for people who want to be entertained, obviously, but the show also has like strong messages about like sexism and racism and mental health, mental illness. And it's done really subtly. I feel like there are some moments that are bigger than others, but I think that was what really drew me to the script too, because it's not just about like, oh, who is this monster killing people? It's about the police force and the foundational lies of the police force. And yeah. Yeah,
I think it's for the person, you know, with the, you know, wickedest sense of humor, really, you know, like the who truly can cackle even in the darkest circumstances. But as the other two put so astutely, you know, that's not at the cost of hopefully a quite authentic and heartfelt psychological drama. But I really think there's legit laugh out loud funny moments in every episode, even the ones that you guys haven't seen yet. There is some like it's this weird combination. And this is maybe the best way of putting it. I don't think I've seen a show or movie where you have proper jump scares and proper belly laughs, but like as the same sandwich. Like it's a unique cocktail that we're serving up. So if you like belly laughs and jump scares, you know, come on in.
I am loving every minute of it. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks so much.
Is absolutely everything that you guys said. So thank you for your performances.
Thank you for watching.
Hi guys, I'm Reggie Ponder, the real critic out of Chicago. Sorry for being a little late, and being late makes me think that you guys had way too much fun with this, because when I got on, everybody's laughing and I'm like, it's not that funny. It's not that funny. So talk about the fun. I mean, looking at you guys, just hearing these answers to what it's about, it seemed like you also had fun doing this. Talk about that.
You know, this is a bonkers show, and the making of it was probably 10 times more bonkers than even people are going to see watching at home, because we had to see just the craziest stuff that you guys are going to get to watch in this show. Poisonous snakes, people catching on fire, people hanging off buildings, people. Okay, right. I'm not going to say any more because I'm spoiling stuff.
Yeah.
But I didn't say who. Anyway, the point is, we had to be a band of brothers because we're turning this stuff around on a sixpence. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, Thalissa and Lucy, but I felt like I was like it was a sprint. You know what I mean? There weren't troughs in this. It was all peaks every day. I was either sweating or hyperventilating or covered in blood. Sometimes my own, sometimes other people's. And when you're in that situation, you got to laugh, and you need your brothers in arms to you know, be along for the ride. And these are two incredibly generous scene partners. And that was it. You know, the mania, Reggie, brought us together because there was no other choice.
I think also the crew, like big shout out to the crew, was just
very true.
Absolutely, you know, yeah, we had to sprint, but we had our trainers and we had the people that were like helping us through the triathlon, basically taking our swim suits off and handing us our bicycles. Like, they were absolutely, you know, one of the last scenes in one of the last episodes. I don't know how they managed to film that so quickly, but Holly is a makeup artist, did a makeup, which I won't tell you what it was, but the turnaround that she did on Henry was insanely clever and very, very, very talented. So I think the crew also just had a sense of humor. I mean, also we were talking about humor a lot yesterday, and just the differences between like Britain versus America. And we're glad that you find it funny as well, because I think a lot of it was very like sarcastic. And Henry put it well the other day, saying that, you know, we tend to put ourselves down and then put everyone else down around us. And Lucy was very quick at suddenly realizing that we weren't that mean.
No, you guys, you know what I noticed? First of all, Thalissa, Henry, you are the greatest scene partners in the world. You so generous, so professional, so hardworking. I can't even deal with you two. You know how much I adore you. But it's true. You guys can't take a compliment though. Like British people can't take a compliment. Like for me, like things were just done a little different there. Like usually you'll get emails after like the end of the first week to be like, hey, you're doing great. No. So you know when someone gives you a compliment, like you killed it. So, which makes me think that everyone back home is just full of it. But you know, if you're in the UK and someone's praising you, that they actually genuinely mean it. But I kind of prefer
school reports. My school reports at school were so rude. I want to get them printed out. But yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. But Freddie Sidebourne's writing, I mean, he's just a genius. I mean, he wrote humor that felt also very different for each character as well, which was really, really smart. And he also wrote women, I think, incredibly well. I don't know, Lucy, I mean, the words, it was so easy to learn the lines and so easy to have that kind of humor come out of our mouths. And also he managed to talk about what we said before, you know, institutionalized racism, sexism in the workplace with a very, very smart, innate sense of humor that we do, you know, make each other laugh. Lucy and I were also making each other laugh when stuff happened on, you know, in our day-to-days. So yeah, it was just good to know that we were all on the same plane of wanting to make something that was humorous and hopefully serious.
Effective.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Job serious.
Humorous and serious.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you, Reggie.
Hey, it's Rhonda. Since you guys have lived with these characters, what surprises you the most about your characters, and what pleases you the most about your characters?
That's such a good question. Lucy, do you want to go first?
I know what I think what I loved about Edmonds is that she definitely is like the new kid on the block. She talks way too much. Like she just a lot. But I like that about her. I think that there's something like fresh and youthful, and she's like curious about the world. And the thing about what she's saying is she's actually right. Like she actually makes really good points. And she talks about things that everyone else is a little too afraid to talk about. And I think the way Baxter and Rose work is just very different from how Edmonds operates. So it was fun, like trying to figure out how Edmonds fits into their world. So that's what I really liked about her, or what pleased me about her. And then what was the other part? What surprised me? Well, I think what was so interesting is that so we shot episodes 1 through 3 together all over the place. And then we shot block 2, episodes 4 through 6.
This is just how you make television in the UK. Well, Lucy is very confused by this concept.
Okay, maybe it is normal. I'm used to doing like network TV where you do episode by episode, kind of in order, new director. Whereas
that's too easy, Rhonda. That's too easy. That's too easy practice. In England, we like it completely random. You're doing a scene from episode 1, and then 2 minutes later, you're doing a completely different episode.
It's wild. So as an actor, it's like 3 scripts, a lot more to prepare, right? But you know more of what's going on, which I guess helps you as an actor. But I guess what surprised me most about Edmonds is that I knew something really traumatic had happened in her life, but I don't think I didn't know what it was. So I kind of had to create in my mind what had happened. I mean, I knew it was big enough that she ran away from her own country. Like I knew it was pretty massive, but I didn't know like the weight of what it was until the second block. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it kind of, it was surprising to learn what had happened in Edmonds' past, because it was far greater than what my messed up mind had even come up with.
I've only seen episodes 1 and 2, okay? Which is, I don't know how many episodes you guys have seen. So what surprised me, funnily enough, I thought that Nathan Rose was going to be a bit more of a bastard, and and there was a sweetness, like, I don't know where it came, like there's something happens in the edit or the mix or something of the cut. He's like weirdly sweet, even though he's doing horrible things. There's like, he's somehow sweeter than I imagined, which I was not expecting at all. So that was confusing in a good way. And what pleased me is when you're doing, you know, the aforementioned running, jumping, climbing, fighting, you never know how authentic that stuff is going to look, because it's very technical. You're punching a thing and then you're throwing someone in, you're breaking someone's arm, and obviously you know, I'm not the world's you know, biggest tough guy, and yet it pleased me that when I watched it in the thing, I thought, yeah, I think that makes sense. I think it's hanging together.
That's my favorite
Henry.
talking ever, Henry. You look
See,
like
that's a British, like, putting yourself down. I suppose what surprised me watching it, or what is surprising, what surprises Baxter about herself? Is it what surprises Baxter about herself, or what I get?
No, she's a fictional character. She can't be surprised by herself.
What I get surprised by? Well, I mean, she could be. She could be like, wow, this surprises me. This is actually really cool. I want to hang out with her. But yeah, I think the wall, the thickness of the wall that Baxter hides behind, and her sensitivities was a lot thicker than I realized. And obviously, whilst I was playing it, and it starts to sort of crumble a little bit, you know, the further you get into the series, but she's hiding behind so many institutionalized barriers that I think, you know, even from what she's wearing, how she dresses herself, to, you know, how little she smiles at Edmonds, just is hiding so many things about, you know, being a woman in the workplace and having to keep her head high, and being Black and in the police force. And, you know, it was just a lot thicker than I realized. And I think I don't mind that, but I think it was quite surprising actually how much she had to hide. And what was the other thing? What pleases you? Please. I mean, I love the hair. The hair looked great. It was not all mine. Just how much it flips around and I turn corners is great. I love like manga, and like I love characters, and I just thought I really want a Sade style hairstyle, and it worked out. I think it's also just like, yeah, it just felt very action figure-y, which I quite enjoyed.
Yo, I didn't see the manga reference, and now you said it, it makes total sense.
Yeah, I just wanted her to show up and always look like the same figurine, you know?
Yeah, that's sick. Really cool.
Well, thank you guys. Those are really cool answers.
It's Dana again from the Coalition. Each character has their own kind of, you would say, their reason, what they're struggling, not struggling in a bad sense, but Lucy, your character, you kind of ran away from America. You're dealing with institutionalized racism. Henry has the PTSD. Well, Lloyd has a PTSD that he's dealing with. What would you say is the motive for your characters to keep continuing, especially in this field, and especially for Lloyd, now that he's extremely tied into the Ragdoll case?
Yeah, I think he is doing everything he can, or it's his almost like his life's work to pool everything he's ever done into trying to solve this case, to undo all the damage he's done in his entire life. It almost like a compulsive gambler who is stuck at the casino thinking, I am, you know, if I just keep pulling this thing, I'm going to make all the money, which is going to pay off all my debts. I think like the horrendous position he's got himself into in the past, as well as like completely blowing up his life, putting his relationship with Baxter, like, you know, driving fissures through it, all at the risk of winning big and being able to say, I got this guy, and now I'm the hero. And you know, I might have made a few mistakes, but you can see that it was all worth it. And so that's what's driving him. It's motivating him, but it's also driving him mad, I would say. And in doing so, exacerbating, as Baxter points out, you know, several times in episodes, I might not be making myself more well in that pursuit and that commitment.
I mean, much like Rose, I think that's why Edmonds admires Rose so much, because she actually behaves more like him than she does like Baxter. I think she has more respect for Baxter, but she definitely sees herself in Rose, because I think she has the same mindset of, okay, if I just do the right thing, if I do the noble thing from here on out, then it kind of erases this like big mistake she made in her past. But I think also her driving force is just like proving that she's supposed to be there, because she is younger, she is more new to this field of work. So I think she just wants to show that, like, I'm supposed to be here. She wants to claim her power. But she also, I think she knows that her superpower is that she is sometimes like one of the smarter people in the room. I think that she's really, really smart and thinks about things a little differently than other people. So she knows that she can use that to sort of prove to everyone that she's supposed to be here.
When I got the script, the fact that Freddie had geniusly weaved in a lot of the problems with the British police force into Baxter's turmoil of whether she should work there or not was something that really fascinated me. I mean, the UK, I mean, there's 3% of the UK's population is Black or brown, and 8% of them are in, you know, in death in custody in the police force. And the disproportion of what goes on in terms of race in British police force is horrendous. And there's something that Baxter feels like, am I going to be a Judas seen by my community, or is it going to be something that by me being there, it can slowly change the face of something? And I mean, you see it become something that's even harder to grasp later on in the series, where she's questioned about, is she actually doing well in this case? And one of the difficult things is she probably should be stepped down, because it's not going so well for her. I don't want to give too much away. But then there's the question of, like, actually, if we get rid of you, then in terms of optics, you know, it's going to look terrible for the police force. So she kind of becomes this face of the case that kind of, she doesn't like the fact that she's sort of treated differently, or there's some sort of like glorification of the fact that she's in charge of this case. It makes her job a lot harder for her, and it makes it difficult for her to be able to just concentrate on the job and not be sort of glorified as this young brown woman that's, you know, solving a crime of London town. So I think that there's something, yeah, that's one of the biggest turmoils of you know, if I'm not here, who's going to be? But if I leave, then when's this ever going to get better? And I think there's also something about her relationship with her father. You never meet her father, but you hear a bit of the background of his story, and that he also struggled in the same sense. And through generations, a lot of it and the conversations have changed so much as they have with us, you know, generation to generation. It's a completely different language almost, but especially in institutionalized forces. But I think for her, it was just such an important thing to be there, even if she has to sacrifice her own exhaustion or, yeah, I mean, it's no different to, you know, anyone trying to get up and go to work and have to deal with institutions on a day-to-day. But I think there was something so powerful that, and Freddie and I, you know, had really, really beautifully delicate and very well thought out conversations and emails back and forth. And also our trainee producer, Abiola Rufai, was in the room a lot with me, helping out with those scenes where we were talking about race and being another person to be able to speak about these things in the room, which was just so brilliant to be able to then just concentrate on the acting, and actually the writing's there and the opinions are there, and that was phenomenal. So yeah, Abiola helped so much, but it was just, yeah, it was hard at points, but just so worth it to be able to tell the story, not only to be like, let's tell a story about what it is to be Black in the police force, but it's encapsulated in a world that just feels very human, because, you know, it's having to be dealt with in more subjects than just that. How do we deal with a murderer? And you're brown. So it just made a lot of sense to me, and it was very authentic on the page.
Thank you.
How do you hope audiences will connect with the story and characters?
I hope they'll enjoy the sort of will they, won't they, Rose and Baxter, actually. You see a little bit of it.
We haven't talked about that.
We haven't actually spoken about that at all. Why are people avoiding our possible interaction? That was quite nice. It's quite, well, it felt really human again, in the idea that these people's lives are so work driven that, you know, you got to fancy someone at work. I don't know.
It comes quick. Thalissa, it came quicker in the epic, like it felt like it was really up there, like quite quick. I remember that was like, I felt like it was really low volume, and in when I read the scripts, and then I was like, oh wow, okay.
I was going to say that's one of the reasons why I think that maybe he's quite much sweeter than maybe you realize, because also their romance helps with the humanity of the, I mean, it shows vulnerability. If you're going to love someone, you're going to have to tear your chest open, show them your organs. So there was a softness to them because they possibly could love each other, which hopefully the audience will connect to that. I don't know.
But it was interesting because, I hope this isn't revealing anything, but like spoiling anything. But I remember early doors talking, I said, you know, I'm talking about when I just read like maybe one episode certainly before they finished the series, but certainly before I'd even read future episodes, and saying to the writers and director, you know, that people are going to think that, just so you know, like I was saying, like, I don't know what happens, but just so you know, people are going to think that something's going on here. And they were like very much like, people were very much like, will they? Oh, that's weird. I don't know where I was like, they're gonna think it. They're gonna think it. Whether you, like, we have to know how to, you know, we have to own this. So, yeah, interesting.
I quite like that Edmonds' character she clocks it also as quickly as the audience does.
Oh yeah, and she calls you out on it immediately. But I am the biggest Rose Baxter stan around. I am so pulling for this, hoping for this. It's there.
Are you talking about as Lucy or as Edmonds?
No, I'm talking about as Lucy. But also, I think Edmonds would be in full support of that as well.
I don't at all.
Maybe in the beginning, I don't know.
Oh, the plot thickens. I'm going to give you a short answer. Come for the jump scares, stay for the belly laughs. That's what audiences are going to get out of it.
Yes, I ditto what Henry said.
My question is, one of the things I do love about the difference between British police dramas and American police dramas is, you know, we love our guns in America. So we're always driven to fall in by that. But in England, you don't do that. You have to kind of like look at it more from an analytical point of view, not to say that, you know, weapons are never drawn. You don't rely on that firsthand. You kind of seems like the case is worked more through, let's figure out what the mindset of the person is. Let's not be so reactionary. At least that's what I'm seeing. What was that like for you, Lucy? Because policing is definitely 160 different degrees than what we do it here.
No, you're absolutely right. And truly on one of my first weeks there for prep, I was like, are we going to get gun training? Like, I haven't really held one. I don't know. They're like, we don't do guns here. And I'm like, that's so crazy that that's just how my mind works. That's just automatically what I think, because here, everyone and their grandma has a gun. They're like handed out like candy, as you know. But I think it is, you're absolutely right. What was that show you told me to watch, Henry? The British crime?
Oh yeah, so we have there's a couple of I wonder if you can watch them in the States, but it's called 24 Hours in Police Custody. It's just one case, and it shows a lot of like real British cops, not even in London, like in places outside of London, and they are just cracking a case. Yeah, it's not glamorous police work, but it's the real stuff.
But that was
with the real suspects.
But that was really helpful for me because it showed me how people in our line of work interact with criminals, how they talk to them. I don't know exactly I think there's only a certain amount of percentage of the police in the UK that can carry a gun, I think, but it is more about, okay, how should we walk into this situation based off of the information we're giving off of, you know, their mental health in this moment. But it is more about not being reactive. Did you have a baton, Thalissa, or one of those?
Yeah, like a shit lightsaber.
Yeah, I didn't get anything fun like that.
It was, yeah, I mean, there is something about, having to undo someone's, reverse someone's pattern of thought to get there. I mean, it's true. I mean, it would be a completely different show if we could just, actually, it's very, very true, very interesting. Like the pace of the drama actually is so much to do with the thought process of this killer and trying to analyze him and understand his motives. I mean, I don't think I'd be giving much away, but to think that he believes that the justice system isn't good enough. And so once we clock that, it's just trying to work out something that's actually quite old-fashioned. So, I mean, the whole show has this kind of retro, old-fashioned feel, which, I mean, they quickly have to move into the art and antiquities office because something goes on with the computers in their office. And then you just see us working with paper and pen for the rest of the series, which is also much slower. But I think there's something that's quite methodical about it, which is, it's quite interesting.
It does seem a bit analog, doesn't it?
It's
like
very
our
analog.
world. Like it does seem a bit of like an analog drama. I mean, it's, you know, it's not quite Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, but it's like almost on the way there. You know, like
you wouldn't be surprised to see me on a typewriter at one point.
Yeah.
there's something. There's a bit when Lucy shows me a phone and I'm scrolling through Instagram and I'm like, what is this? Like, it's, which is me in real life, but it's just, there's something it just takes a lot more time, maybe. I don't know.
I'm fascinated. I'm genuinely fascinated to know through American eyes what the world of, you know, when you look at our drama, which is a fairly faithful retelling of British detectives, what that looks like and how exotic it feels. I mean, I know a detective fairly well, and we spoke extensively in the run-up to this, and everything that in terms of the investigation, we kind of, you know, we weren't wildly off like, you know, the rule book there, or certainly the approach. There were a few uniform issues that she had with my costume. When I told, no, Thalissa, you were dressed so perfectly appropriately, but when I told my detective that I was going to be wearing trainers, she was livid.
That's the only thing that she thought was unrealistic.
No. I'm just saying that was the first time which we were getting into the case, and I was like, yeah, and a little bit about the you know, obviously, and she was like, wait, you're wearing trainers? And I was like, yeah. She was like, what, like just like in the car, but like when you're seeing, like when you're out, you're not wearing trainers, are you? And I was like, yeah. She was like, so people are going to see you in the trainers? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, no, not on my team, not on my team.
I think about the drama of the show. It means you can get a lot closer to the danger, because you're not actually worried that you're going to be shot at. I mean, you might be, but you can, as an audience as well, you can see these characters, the world of the killer and the world of the detectives, they fully merge. They have like, I mean, I don't want to do too much, but they're in the same room. So I think that there's something that, you know, the suspense of it and exactly how you're going to defend yourself is a completely different ballgame. I mean, I was pretty much fighting with objects that I found around. I know at one point, I know I was using mostly my torch. Like, that is the most lethal weapon that I think I held at one point. So I think, yeah, in terms of drama and in terms of like spectacle, I suppose it's almost like Greek theatre, you know, it's like you can see battlefields, you know, you're actually facing the murderer a lot physically closer, which, you know, is terrifying, being in the same room in that extent and being that close.
You know, I actually didn't think about that, because when you watch shows like this back home, you're like, well, someone's going to get shot, someone's going to shoot someone, mystery gone. But you don't have that in our show. I actually hadn't thought about that until you just said it.
Yeah, fascinating.
The twist is, Lucy, if there were fictional, if our group of fictional detectives was to meet another group of fictional detectives, we'd probably lose because we'd just get shot, wouldn't we?
True.
We'd turn up with a nightstick and Talissa's torch and just get shot, and you know,
or drink and smoke too much until we can't anymore. I mean,
in the battle royale.
How Baxter runs that fast and smokes that many cigarettes, I don't know, but hey.
Impressive.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Hey guys, Karan again. So I have a question. What would your character buy you as a gift, and what did you keep as a souvenir?
Ooh, love that.
Aaron, does our character know us well? Like, is it like a, have they nailed it, or is it just like a, yeah?
It's according to them, not according to what you want, according to what they want to get you. What would they get you?
Okay, I think Edmonds would buy me a tattoo session, because she's like fully, I love tattoos. I feel like she'd be like, I booked you a session with Dr. Wu, let's go get a tattoo. I feel like that is what she would do. And then the second half was, did I keep anything?
Yes, what did you keep?
Did we keep anything? I meant to take my Doc Martens, but I didn't.
That would be good. I don't think I kept it.
I just kept the memories. That's what I kept. You know?
I meant to take the badge. I meant to take the badge. I had my ID and everything, and I just forgot to take it. I forgot to take it, and I've been meaning to get it, but I haven't got it yet. I was just going to keep it in case I was stopped for speeding one time. You know what I mean? Just in the glove box, you never know.
Yeah.
Just to say. Though I did actually arrest someone the other day, but we don't have time to go into that. Maybe.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
Great story, actually.
It's an amazing story, but it kind of needs its own true crime podcast. Nathan Rose would give me a voucher for something that had already expired. You'd go to redeem the voucher and you'd be like, wait a second, this hasn't been valid since 2011. And it would be for, you know, £28. Sorry, guys.
That's good. That's good.
Baxter's got a nice flat. I feel like
Baxter's got a really nice flat, but I have a feeling like she doesn't go shopping. She's probably never really walked into Oliver Bonus. Like she just wouldn't go into a shop. So she'd probably give me something that was like a record, something that was.
I was going to say a record.
Yeah. That was like, oh God, it's her birthday. Let me quickly look through the shelves. Okay, Erykah Badu, wrap it up. Yeah, probably an old record. And what I mean, I'd like to have kept the car, but I don't think they would have let me do that. But I mean, I wanted the waistcoats. I just loved that she was wearing, I'm hoping waistcoats and white shirts would just be, you know, in high fashion after the show comes out. I just loved wearing waistcoats. So I wanted to keep that, but I left it just in case there's a season 2 and I'm walking around dressed as Baxter for a year and then have to dress as her again. Yeah, I wish I could wear what she wore all the time. It's a lot easier.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hi guys, Reggie Ponder again. And Karan's question actually kind of was a good lead in for mine, is that you guys really live these characters. So individually, if you were, I know Freddie might not be happy about this, but individually, if you were to have a spinoff, what would that look like? Your character.
Dang.
I mean, it is a Nathan Rose show pretty much. So
Yeah.
It's really hard to answer this question without doing spoilers.
yeah.
I can't imagine Edmonds being without Baxter though. Like I couldn't.
Oh, that's such a lovely thing to
Very
say.
sweet.
I just don't think I could. It would have to be with you.
I'd quite like a spin-off where we were filming somewhere hot.
Yes,
Before
LA.
Lucy
Season 2,
came
Los
to
Angeles.
London
Can we
the
pitch that?
rainiest summer. Yeah, I mean, it would be quite nice to do like a Tropicalia version when we're on like speedboats and but I don't know.
So what, Baxter, the Interpol years?
Yeah.
Thank you. I know that was unfair because if you don't want to give off too much stuff, but I appreciate the attempt. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Reggie. I'm treading on landmines here. I'm treading on landmines.
No problem.
I mean,
no problem.
it would be quite nice to do prequels because I think these characters come from, I mean, Freddie's idea of what he's written. I mean, he had an email that he sent me about what happened to Baxter in her life, you know, and it was very, very intricately designed, and he said we can talk about it. And actually, yeah, very useful for me to be able to have that in my head, but it's not overtly in the script. And I think he's got such an amazing world of making sure that these characters really come from something solid. And, you know, what he wrote about Baxter was, you know, that she was possibly a child that traveled with her dad who was in the army and she lived in different parts of the world a lot. So this idea of her not being a part of a group of friends or an institution so much. And actually the police means so much to her because this is the first time she's had solid people that have remained consistent in her life for the first time, you know, and that sort of family feel of it is also so important to her. So, I mean, that's important for me to have in my head, but it's not overtly in our script, but I think the prequels of these characters would be so detailed and would make so much sense for what he's written now.
Thank you for that, because you saved Henry, because Henry was not of any help to me. Thank you.
Okay, guys, since we have a karaoke moment, what is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, easy. Krista Berg, Lady in Red. I could do it right now.
They're like, go.
Go on then. Go on then. You wanted that question. You've been waiting for this.
I've never
question.
seen you looking so lovely as you did tonight.
Wow.
I've never seen you shine so bright. You were amazing. And I've never seen that dress you're wearing, or the highlights in your hair, they catch your eyes. I have been blind, the lady in red is dancing with me, cheek to cheek. There's nobody here.
We got it.
All right, you asked for it. You asked for it.
Very good, Henry Lloyd Hughes. I will not be doing a rendition of this, but I love like Bitch by Meredith Brooks, or Ironic by Alanis Morissette.
Yeah.
Maybe a little Dear Evan Hansen.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I must admit that I'm not very good at knowing lyrics in English. I grew up mostly with Brazilian music and I just love Brazilian stuff. So most of my references would just, it will probably be some like Cidade Negra song that's like some, you know, obscure thing, but probably any Erykah Badu. I mean, I've already mentioned her
Ooh.
once in things, so
Wow.
like,
Wow.
Orange Moon, Erica would do it, it'd be slow dancing, everyone would be, yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna sing it, Henry. You can call me up later and we can we can actually go partying and I'll sing it to you then.
Thank you guys. Sounds like a fun night.
Well,
That'll be a crazy night.
Obrigado, Thalissa. And thank you all for taking part in our roundtable today. We love the show and we are definitely looking forward to the next season and the season after that. So on behalf of the world's largest group of Black film critics, thank you so much for your time. And thank you for watching AAFCA Roundtables. Have a great day.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Guys, we're all
Thank
have a great
you.
day. Have a great weekend.
Bye.